The regular council meeting of November 28th, 2023. I called to order at 6 p.m. And I will have a motion for adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes or additions? Councillor McCoy?
Motion to approve or to adopt the agenda as presented.
Or as, did you want that item?
Yeah, so I just asked if there's any, go ahead, if there's something to add. Oh, it's already on there, so yeah, you're right, it's on here, but item 12.3, I'm sorry, it's as amended. I just saw it on the agenda already, so thanks for that, Luana, that's very efficient. But we did add 12.3, the police service agreement. As amended, Councillor McCoy?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Call the vote then to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we have adoption of the November 14th, 2023 regular council meeting minutes as amended. And I just tell you why, because 529-23, the motion was for the mayor to carry out the directives as discussed. So I just need that changed. Moved by Councillor Williams for the mayor to carry out the directives as discussed. Is there anything else? The minutes are otherwise fine? Yes?
I can make a motion.
As amended?
Yep.
Okay.
I move to adopt the November 14th, 2023 regular council meeting minutes as amended.
Great. We'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have council reports for November, for today, for whatever meetings you were at. I'm going to start with Councillor Baswick has not taken any appointments, but is there anything you would like to highlight? And you can say yes or no, or I'm just going to go left to right tonight.
Highlighting peace of mind.
Good.
Thank you.
That's a good highlight. Thank you. Councillor McCoy.
I attended PEC. I get confused with the new.
SPC.
SPC, sorry. And it was a very brief but productive meeting, and Councillor Moore is the new chair, and I'm the new vice chair.
So out of 3, that doesn't leave very many that didn't get an appointment, hey? But that's okay. Thanks for that. Deputy Mayor.
Okay, on the 15th, we had a policy and governance meeting. Chair and vice chair were selected. Councillor Windsor, I believe, is the vice chair. I got that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And they made me the chair. I did try and vote both of them in first.
But you only
didn't
have
win. I didn't win. So we did a little bit of work on a policy for the community grant program. We've got our priority docket items and our docket draft committee plans laid out, so we'll be getting busy with that. On the 20th was a DDAC meeting, and in DDAC we discussed the housing crisis both in Didsbury and across the country, and how the lack of housing affects our community in particular. Ideas from other communities and concepts were part of the conversations, plus the limitations as to what we actually can do as a community in regards to attracting some housing. So, EDO reported that she applied for the Rural Renewal Stream Program with the province. One of the biggest hurdles for our employers is staff and housing, again, to housing. Our EDO has tried various avenues to become part of the program and is currently waiting on a response from the province for Didsbury to be included. The DDAC is working on an inventory list for meeting space. So if anyone in the community is offering meeting space, they can call Alexa with details on their space or speak to the project volunteers when contacted to provide info. So there are some volunteers in the community right now that are gathering all of the information on vacant storefronts, commercial and industrial spaces. These are committee members. And property owners that are looking to fill space for lease or sale are asked to contact the EDO with information so she can help fill these vacancies. DDAC discussed various opportunities for marketing Didsbury to the outside world, and our EDO is working on various potential campaigns for 2024. Furthermore, potential valuable events and programmings were suggested and will be explored by the committee during 2024. So it looks like it's going to be an exciting year for us. On the 22nd, I will apologize. I missed the MPC meeting. My phone loaded at 5:30. It started at 4:30, so I have nothing to report there, but I think it is in the CAO's report, the MPC meeting. So what else? Then tonight we had ICC. Pre-ICC meeting. So that's my reports.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a Policy and Governance Committee on the 15th. Deputy Mayor already covered most of, well, all of what we discussed, and we have another one coming up tomorrow. I was unable to attend the MPC meeting on the 22nd, so Councillor Moore went as my alternate. Then on the 24th, I had my first Alberta Municipalities Municipal Governance Committee up in Edmonton. That was an all-day event, and it was really eye-opening, all what was going on with AV communities.
Thank you,
I'm just
Mayor.
just wondering about, there's some things that you can report from those meetings? And there's some you can't, but there's some you can, so that's what'll happen when going forward. Are you is there gonna be a written report, or are you gonna?
I can provide a written
Just on
report.
things you can.
And one of the big takeaways from that was we had a presentation by Alex Buffat, who's the chief of staff to Mr. Rick McIver. He answered any questions that we may have about the Local Authority Selection Act and the MGA, and we also discussed the current surveys that they have out right now to the public, and he was really open to suggestions and comments that the committee had regarding those two pieces of legislation.
Good. Thanks. Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. This has been a busy 2 weeks, so I'm going to take probably a little bit more than 2 minutes to talk about what I've been involved in. RDR Mug, we had the meeting with the Assistant Deputy Minister for Environment and Protected Areas, and the report that I have is in the external reports. In the external reports as well is the slideshow presentation that they provided, and there's two things that I'll point out that are really important about that, is that they're trying to be proactive rather than reactive, which is what they usually are, is reactive, because they are anticipating a serious drought in 2024, to the point where they're talking about cooperative agreements for licensing on the rivers. All temporary licenses from the Bow River have been suspended, and they are not issuing any new ones until further notice. And they are, they wouldn't say it exactly this way, but they are fearful of what the potential is for the drought in 2024 and what it might mean to the province. One of the slides in that presentation that I draw your attention to is the slide on the Old Man River, where the water level is 27% of capacity. And I repeat that, 27% of capacity. so low that the intake on the headwaters of that reservoir is not supplying the communities around with water, supply of fresh water, because the intakes are out of the water. That's how low the reservoir is. And they're having to truck water to the communities down there, which is hugely expensive, $300,000 a week or something like that. And then the presentation from our meeting, we had a presentation from WaterSmart, and I've included that in the external reports for you to look at. And all that is doing is emphasizing how important an in-stream storage will be on the Red Deer River and how that will affect us, generally speaking, along as one of the users of the Red Deer River. I have a meeting with the Environment and Protected Areas. It is the policy advisor. The minister isn't available. She's kind of busy with other things right now, but she has arranged a meeting for us, and that is taking place on December 6th. And both the Urban Core Chair and Rural Core Chair of RDR will be meeting with her to talk about what they're doing and what the plans are for an in-stream storage on Red Deer River. Mountain View Regional Water Services, we had a meeting. There's a series of items in the agenda that you can look at, minutes and agendas and org structure. There's a bunch of things in there. The board meeting on the 20th, we had an additional meeting to the board meeting. Mayor Ron Hunter and I went to that orientation meeting. It's interesting that the Water Commission doesn't have a formal policy or a program of orientation for new members to the commission. And so we went up for a orientation, got a whole bunch of information. I have subsequently received more documents, and I will be forwarding those to you sometime down the road here. And right now, I'm still gathering documents to understand exactly how the commission works, what rules it runs under, and hopefully by the next meeting, I'll be a little bit more versed in where we are with the Water Commission. Parkland Regional Water, there's a whole bunch of things in the external report. Parkland Regional Library System, sorry. There's a bunch of things, documents in the external reports from there as well. The board meeting was on the 16th of November, and that the report I have made, I think it missed this external report, so it'll be in the next one. Barb Gilliot is from the Village of Alex, was the vice chair and is now the chair of the PRL. In the agenda this time was an item that we had forced to be in it from the last meeting, and that has to do with opening the membership agreement, because we're past 6 months where we can reintroduce that. And we're going to have I'm not sure how to say this, a high school debate. Those for, those against, and there's going to be presentations from both sides. And on the for opening the document, there are 5 people involved. Myself, Joanne Murphy from the City of Camrose, Shannon Wilcox from Carstairs, Carlene Wetham from County of Camrose, and Todd Dalkey from Sundry. And so we'll be meeting over the next little while, primarily through Zoom, to develop a plan and get our presentation together for a presentation in February to convince the board to open item 8.3 of the membership agreement, which has to do with the population numbers that they use for calculations. And that's kind of all my stuff. I do have 2 motions from the RMA that I'd like to make at some point, and I'm not sure where you want those made. Well, they're about the AP extended producer responsibility, and getting the registration in for that, as well as inviting the Kim out. She will do a presentation for council about how EPR is going to be administered by ARMA and what we can expect down the road.
Ethan is adding EPR to his CO report, like a verbal update. So maybe that should happen then, if like the report might tell
Okay.
you more.
Okay.
And so we'll listen to that report first and see
Okay,
where it takes council.
okay.
But do
I'm
you
good.
need a motion,
Thank
so
you.
with this other committee you're on, do you need is it gonna be costing the,
It will not,
You're-
it will not cost
So
the
you're not-
town anything. I'm doing it voluntarily as the
Okay.
appointment to the Parkland Regional Library System.
okay. And I think we just, I guess, acknowledge that Councillor Windsor is participating in an ad hoc committee for Parkland Regional Library.
Yeah.
That should probably be a motion. We've kind of made that formal, that any extra duties we take on with our roles, but just the council acknowledge that, you're aware. So when we come out, we'll make that motion,
Okay. I like that,
well, whoever. Councillor Moore, thanks for that.
The Mountain View Seniors Housing key messages that are in the external reports are the ones from the previous meeting. But I had another meeting on November 16th, and that was an organizational meeting as well. And at that meeting, Dwayne Fulton from the county was made chair, and Richard Warnock Sundry is vice chair of Mountain View Seniors Housing. And I'm back on signing authority because I'm the closest one since Alan isn't there anymore, and succession committee, and sometimes finance committee, audit, that sort of thing still. So that's not new. That's what is usually there. November 20th, Bethany Care check presentation for their gazebo. Mayor Wanda and Joyce, Councillor McCoy were there as well. They were very grateful that we came, and they had nice pictures and a great big check for the amount that council put toward it. It's already looking pretty good, and I think it will be really nice. It's long enough that people there, it's a big enough trip for somebody in a walker to walk around the sort of serpentine paths, and there's a little one and a bigger one, so they can choose their path, and benches will be coming as well as the gazebo. November 21st, Aspen Ridge Coffee and Conversation, and again, Councillor McCoy and Mayor Hunter were there, and we had a very nice coffee and conversation with the residents, and they were very attentive, and there was a very good presentation by Mayor Hunter. On November 22nd, we had our first strategic planning committee, and as Councillor McCoy said, I was made chair, and there's the one item, and that's coming up later in our agenda, and that's just to do a slight adjustment on some of the fees for DOSCA and Summer Fun. November 22nd, also MPC. I was the counselor that was able to go. And that one you also see in your agenda. It's the second stage of the Shantz Dev 2 development, and it's exciting, and I'm particularly interested in how they're going to have their garbage underground so it doesn't smell and it doesn't look bad, and I'm intrigued as to how they do that. They sent me information, so I will know more, but I won't report it to council. It's just, if anybody wants to know, I can tell them. And then tonight, we had the ICC agenda review. That's it.
Thank you. Talking to Patter, too, I asked about the garbage, and I said to him after I asked about the garbage, like, it's funny with a great big development like this, new gas station, all the retail, that we're wondering about the garbage bins. As I said, I'm sorry that I have to ask this, because there's so much better, there's so much bigger things than the garbage, but it's a new concept, so. I went to the Chamber Christmas gathering last week, I believe it was, yeah. Check presentation, the orientation for the Water Commission, Aspen Ridges, thanks for bringing that up. I also went to the DHS band concert. I just want to remind everybody that our high school band is going to nationals in Toronto, and it's really quite an honor. They're raising funds, so I'm getting a plug in for them just because I think it's important for our community and it's exciting for them. And great music, holy cow. Like, it's just, I took my sister and she was just totally impressed with the evening. The CAPE information is in here, the package here, but you'll notice that I did take on the role of treasurer, and I'll need support of that. I won't be charging extra for that either. So just if we can get that motion. I went on Sunday to watch a very proud moment for Captain Todd Paulson, firefighter for Didsbury for 20 years. And just an honor to watch that. What an extraordinary event. The Exemplary Service Awards from the Firefighters Association. And congratulations to Captain Paulson for his 20-year service. I want 2 more motions. I don't want to charge for the day, but I'd like my mileage. If I can get a motion just for mileage for that day, because I didn't get it. I didn't have an endorsement to go, and I don't want to charge for the day, but gas is expensive. I'm sorry to have to ask that. And the other part is a motion to invite Captain Paulson on the council, invite him to come and receive recognition from council. And I do believe that's probably in the works from administration, but I'd like the invitation to come from us, because I think it's a pretty special award that we should recognize by invitation. So, that's what I've been doing. I've been doing more, but I'm not going to report on it. So we have some motions. We have to accept the reports as information first, and then I'll go through the motions that I wrote down. Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I will move that the council reports be adopted or accepted as information.
All right, any other questions or comments? Call the vote, all in favor? That's carried. And then we need a motion to acknowledge, and I think we can do both, that Councillor Windsor sitting on an ad hoc committee for PRL, and I taking on the role as treasurer, just an acknowledgement that council's aware of those. Councillor Williams?
Do you need that repeated, or?
I think you're good.
Yeah.
Luana can read it back to us.
When she gets it made.
Okay. Has someone made that motion?
Councillor Windsor or Williams?
Moved by Councillor Williams that council acknowledge Councillor Windsor is participating in an ad hoc committee regarding Part 1 Regional Library Systems membership, and Mayor Hunter taking on the role as treasurer for Cape.
Perfect. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
All right. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. And then a motion just to for the mayor to expense mileage to Edmonton on Sunday. For the Councillor McCoy.
I'll move that the Mayor Hunter be reimbursed for her mileage to Edmonton on Sunday.
Thank you. Any questions? Call the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And a motion to invite Captain Todd Paulson to December 12th council meeting. Is that what we were planning? Well, I'm going to invite him to the December 12th meeting. So December 12th, at the invitation of council, that Captain Todd Paulson attend the council meeting to accept recognition and accolades from council. Let's just say recognition, because accolades will come that night. Deputy Mayor wants to make that?
Yes.
And you want Luana to read it back?
I think she got it.
Okay. Moved moved by Deputy Mayor Engel that council invite Captain Todd Paulson to attend the December 12th regular council meeting to be recognized, to accept.
To be recognized?
No, it's the 20 years for sure.
To be recognized for his 20 years
Service
service ballot
on the GF.
Alberta Firefighters Association.
Oh, Alberta Firefighters Association.
Through the Alberta Fire Chiefs Association. We'll get it right. Everybody knows what we're talking about.
Sorry, my mic's not on. All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And now we have the CAO report. And Ethan has an update verbal to add to that.
So we'll have, we're just going to do a little bit of an update on the EPR program that's coming out. We've been learning everything about it, and it is still a work in progress. It is something that they're still figuring out as they go, and so we'll have that now from Jocelyn.
Hi, through the chair. So in 2022, the Government of Alberta introduced the Extended Producer Responsibility Regulation, and it might be a program that some people are familiar with. They have it heavily implemented in BC and Ontario already. But essentially what it is it passes the financial burden of recycling from the municipality to the producers. So the producers pay what they call PROs, which are essentially collection services for recycling. And they pay them. The PROs are not for profit, and it takes the burden of us having to pay a collection service to pick up the recycling in the community curbside, and it passes it on to the people who are actually producing these paper products, and there's certain thresholds. So it is an optional program, so communities are not required to participate in the EPR program, but by registering for the program before December 31st means that a community would be eligible for recycling services as part of phase 1, and so that would be implemented in April 1st, 2025, and that would shift the cost in April of 2025 from the municipality, which they're calling communities, to the producers at such time, but it isn't a requirement that we register. Does anybody have questions?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. My question would be, what portion of the moved-in collection is the municipality actually going to be reimbursed for?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a reimbursement from what I understand. Is it kind of, so the producers pay, they contract out directly to the PROs, is what they call them. And then once a community registers, essentially PROs will be reaching out to the community. We get a list. They approximate that it'll be anywhere from 5 to 10 within the province. And it's the municipality's choice as to which PRO they decide to go to. But as for a cost burden onto us, that's an agreement that we would have to have with that specific PRO. Yeah. But it varies from PRO to PRO.
So what's the December 31st deadline about?
So it's the deadline to register for if the municipality would like to implement the program in April of 2025. There is the opportunity to register after December 31st, but services wouldn't be started until October of 2026. Yeah. And also another thing to add is that there is the opportunity to deregister as well. So if the municipality decides to register prior to December 31st, they do have that opportunity to decide to continue doing it themselves.
Which is a better approach than being too late, just in my opinion.
Councillor Moore?
Then Councillor Baswick and then Councillor McCoy.
It sounds, although I'm sure this will be a bureaucratic nightmare, it does sound like it would save us some money. Because if they're taking the responsibility for recycling that we now pay for, it can't, well, I shouldn't say that it couldn't help but help. Because one never knows about these things. But being that we can deregister, would you like a motion tonight that we should do this registering by December 31st in order to have an opportunity to participate in something that might save us some money someday?
That's council's decision if they choose to do that. I will say that there are some things that we're waiting on from the province and bylaws from ARMA as well. We're waiting on a fee setting policy, a procedural fairness policy, as well as service standards for common collection systems to see if they're going to be implementing a list of recyclables that will be actually recycled, and ones that are going to be sorted out into waste, but that's council's decision to make that
So
motion.
can't hurt might help. I'd be prepared to make a motion once we're done with discussion.
Yeah, and because it's easier, it's too late to register after the fact, because then it's later. But I also want to, just on that, Ontario and Vancouver are they're the examples of what's going on, not Vancouver, BC. Like they have got really successful EPR programs, those are the models that we're watching. And the other part of that is Alberta's the only province that doesn't have this right now. So it's good news for us. Councillor Bazard, Councillor McCoy, did you have your hand up? Not yet.
Yeah, I did, but I'm
Carry on.
question the other one.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair. Initially, you said it would take away the financial responsibility of the town collecting recyclables. Your follow-up was, when the pros are selected, we have to negotiate with them. That was the comment.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about there? So we're going to end up costing us something.
So through the chair, what I mean by negotiation with that type of agreement is types of things like how often recycling will be picked up, whether that's bi-weekly or weekly, or if we're going to have a service where people can call directly to the pro to report if their recycling was missed, or if they'll be calling to the town. These are the kind of things that will be negotiated between the municipality and the pro.
Follow up. Okay, so excuse me. You can confirm that our financial obligation would be ended once we accept this type of process.
That part is what they're saying presently, but there is still a lot that's in the work with the program, so I can't make any type of guarantees. But that is the concept of the program, is that it shifts that financial responsibility.
Is that the process that's happening now with other provinces, that they are free of cost?
Yeah, in British Columbia, I know, yeah.
Thank you.
The costs come by passing it over to the product that you buy. So, yeah.
Councillor McCoy?
I think it's a great thing that we're doing this. I'm just curious, you said you're waiting for more information, if we should defer a decision until December 12th, when you might have all the answers that you need.
It's not necessarily that we're waiting for answers, it's just as this policy the regulation was introduced in 2022, ARMA is the authority that's implementing the program, and because they're a not-for-profit, they have certain bylaws that regulate it, and so we're just waiting on some bylaws regarding fees as well as procedural fairness and things like that. But so that's the kind of information that we're waiting for, but there's no timeline as to when those bylaws are going to be passed.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
So I'm trying to figure out the program. They're going to take all of our recycling or not. They're going to select certain items, is what I kind of understand.
So That's a tough question to answer. So the way recycling works right now is that all the items that are put into the blue bins are sifted through at a processing facility. And so it would work in the same type of way. So a pro would come and collect curbside the recycling from the list of things that we're allowed to recycle, and there's always a list. And then it goes to the processing facility whereby they sift through it again to determine which products are contaminated and which can be recycled and reused into different products. And so from that point, what we're waiting for right now also from ARMA is one of these collection lists that can say what can and can't be recycled, and sometimes they are quite in-depth, but it's a way, another purpose of EPR is to make it more efficient so that less products that are being recycled and not put into waste.
Yeah, so my concern becomes, they select 40 items, and we still have 30 items of recycling. Are we just supposed to, at that point, put it in landfill? Or how are we going to have those items picked up? Like, where are they gonna, are we still gonna have a blue bin because it's not on their list? That's the concern I see in this program, is they're gonna select certain items, and that's what we can put in there, but we're still gonna have products to be picked up, or they just go into landfill, which is counterproductive in my mind, and we really haven't moved any cost except we're charging people more now for packaging.
I don't think there's a question there. It's an opinion. It's just an opinion. And I think if I might just comment that most of our recycling is going to landfill right now anyway. And there are some things that we never could recycle in our blue bins, and so it just puts the responsibility back to the producer, and it does give you a pickup option.
But I did have a question.
Well, what is it?
My question was, if they only select certain items, what do we do with the others? Do they go in landfill? Or do we have a second collection to deal with them? That was my question.
They go landfill if they're not recyclable.
I can't say necessarily where it will go. I guess that's the person who is recycling's decision. But I can say that I have looked at the lists in other provinces, BC and Nova Scotia, and they're quite lengthy as to what you can recycle. They're pretty efficient. Yeah.
Councilor Belzer again, did you have another question?
Thank you.
Are you done?
I guess what I'm looking at is that using any type of thing like this that the government comes up with is probably suspect to start with, because it's a lot cheaper for us to have our blue bin picked up regardless of how it's processed than to have the cost passed on to us by the manufacturers and providers of the product. So we're going to pay more at the grocery store, we're going to pay more everywhere in order to supplement this program. I think it's cheaper to have my recycle pickup than it is to do what I see happening, which is going to be, we're going to be charged more for all the product to go to cover the cost somewhere. If the manufacturer or the producer has to pay for this, you're going to pay for it, I'm going to pay for it. There's no free lunch in this kind of thing. So I'm dubious of this process, even though BC has open arms on it and other provinces have. From my point of view, it's not quite working.
I think what is important to remember, though, is the program's going ahead with or without us. And so you're going to pay those costs anyway at the grocery store. And then our residents, our citizens, I believe, want recycling. And right now, we're kind of in a tough spot with recycling being questionable as well. So it will happen either way. I like the idea of that motion, Councillor Moore, just because you can always deregister, but we would get on the first group as more and more information comes. And I'm sure we'll be updated. We would expect to be updated on any information that comes about EPR as we go. But those are your comments, and we accept those. And Councillor Windsor has a question, and then I think we're this one out.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of comments, and one is that we're already paying at the grocery store. We're already paying for what the producers would be compensating for us. It's not going to change the prices at the grocery store in Alberta. They're already set by huge conglomerations. The other thing is that my understanding from the session that I attended at RMA is that you're only going to get compensation, financial compensation, for those items that are actually recycled. That you're not going to get compensated for all those things that go into those blue bins that aren't going to be recycled. And it could be that your pro that you're going to be contracting with will be working with E360, who does the curbside pickup right now. And so there could be a whole bunch of different things associated with this. And that's why I think it would be very valuable for us to have Kim from the EPR come down and do a presentation, and she can answer all of our questions and give us a better idea of what we can expect out of this program.
I was going to end that with that one, but this is the end then. This is your last comment.
Well, I guess if you recall, we had a presentation by our recycling people who assured us that the recycling was going to a major facility. Don't shake your head, they did that. They said they were going to send it to a recycling facility. Now, if that hasn't happened, we've been duped by that particular organization, and I expect the same to happen with this, because there's no confirmation or affirmation that this is actually going to happen, other than raise costs, period. I don't care how you look at it, it's going to cost us more money, and I don't like it. Simple.
John said, like, maybe we also need a motion to find out, have administration find out if the recycling is actually being dealt with as recycling and not just being...
Ask it again. I mean, anybody can make a motion, but if they've already given us the answer, then would we be questioning?
Registering. So I will make the motion that we register for this EPR program and get that. Well, I guess that's all I need to say.
There's two streams that have to be registered individually.
So what should this motion be?
Is there?
If there's something different we need.
Thank you. Yes, there are two streams, but we can register for both streams. One is paper packaging products. They call it PPP,